Hi students, this video lesson is for Usman University Degree Semester 1 English, new syllabus from 2025, and in this video lesson I will be dealing with the topic Mr. Sherlock Holmes written by Arthur Conan Doyle. So prose unit 3. About the writer Arthur Conan Doyle, he was a British writer. He was born in 1859 and he died in 1930. And he was a physician or doctor. And he created, Arthur Conan Doyle created the world famous detective character Sherlock Holmes. So it was very popular, and he transformed the detective genre, detective fiction with his great character Sherlock Holmes. So he introduced Sherlock Holmes in 1887 with in novel A Study in Scarlet. So this is A Study in Scarlet novel cover page, and in this novel he introduced Sherlock Holmes to the readers, and he launched a series of 4 novels and 56 short stories that transformed detective fiction, detective genre. And Sherlock Holmes, the present lesson, Mr. Sherlock Holmes is the introductory chapter of the novel A Study in Scarlet, 1887. So now we are reading Mr. Sherlock Holmes, which is the introductory chapter, chapter 1 of the novel A Study in Scarlet. So let's see what are the main characters in the story. In the chapter 1, introductory chapter, Mr. Sherlock Holmes, main characters, Dr. John H. Watson is the narrator of the story. So he tells the readers about his past, and he is a British Army surgeon, recently returned from service in Afghanistan. He fought Afghanistan war, and he is recovering from illness and injury and looking for affordable lodging in London. So Stamford, second character. Stamford is a friend of John H. Watson, and he plays the role of a matchmaker by introducing Watson to Sherlock Holmes. So here Stamford introduces Watson to Sherlock Holmes. So in this chapter, uh, the Watson uh, wants to share Sherlock Holmes' room. He wants to become a roommate of Sherlock Holmes, and they both discuss in this chapter to become roommates. And third character, Sherlock Holmes, is a very important character, and he's a brilliant man, and uh, but eccentric man, unusual man. He is with a deep scientific knowledge, known for his odd experiments or strange experiments. So, who is the narrator in the story? Watson is the narrator. The story is narrated in the first person by Watson. He was a retired army surgeon, and he was an assistant surgeon attached to 5th Northumberland Fusiliers. Fusiliers is an infantry in British Army. It's a low-ranked soldier. And here Watson, uh, when he reaches Kandahar, the second Afghan war was already began, and he served in served at the Battle of Maiwand, and he was wounded in the shoulder by a Zazil bullet. A Zazil is a gun used by Afghans in uh, Afghan second Afghan war. So, Battle of Maiwand. Maiwand is a place in Afghanistan. So the battle took place at Maiwand. So it is called Battle of Maiwand. And Watson later contracted enteric fever. Enteric fever is a typhoid, the paratyphoid, and uh, due to his weakened state, a medical board comprising a team of doctors sent him back to England on the troop ship Orontes. Troop ship is a ship which carries soldiers during wartime. from one place to another place. So that is called troop ship, and the name of the troop ship is Orontes. So in this ship, he was sent back to England due to his illness. The doctor decided, a team of doctors, a medical board sent him back to England, and he was landed in Portsmouth in uh, England, and he had no income, and he had a meager daily income, and so he moved to London. So in London he was searching for affordable living, a cheap lodging in London. So there he met his old friend, old colleague Stamford at the Criterion Bar. So the narrator, Watson, accidentally met his old friend Stamford at a Criterion Bar, and they discuss, and uh, Watson told him about his uh, lodging problems, and he wanted an affordable lodging in London. So they both discuss. So in their discussion, a name comes forward. That name is Sherlock Holmes. So Stamford tells Watson about Sherlock Holmes. So let's see the introduction of Sherlock Holmes. He was a scientific eccentric. He was an unusual man, described by Watson, and he was a brilliant man. And he introduces uh, Watson to Stanford introduces Watson to Sherlock Holmes, and he describes Sherlock Holmes as a little uh, queer and excessively scientific, and in need of someone to split the rent for rooms in Baker Street. Sherlock Holmes lives in 221B Baker Street, and Sherlock Holmes also want to share his room with others to lessen his burden. So the same thing explained to Watson by his friend Stamford. So Stamford tells about Sherlock Holmes to Watson, that Sherlock Holmes also looking for a man who can share his rent in 221B Baker Street. So this 221B Baker Street became address became very popular after this novel, A Study in Scarlet, and they both meet Watson and Stamford. They both meet Holmes at the chemical laboratory at St. Bartholomew's Hospital. So where Sherlock Holmes is performing an experiment, and Holmes excitedly announces his discovery of the Sherlock Holmes test. So let's see what's the Sherlock Holmes test. Sherlock Holmes test is a new infallible, that is error-free reagent that precipitates only by hemoglobin, a crucial forensic tool for detecting old blood stains. So Sherlock Holmes made a discovery that is called Sherlock Holmes test, so which can detect old blood stains. It's a crucial forensic tool in detective investigation. So it was a great discovery by Sherlock Holmes. So these things explain to both Stamford and Watson. And while they were talking, Holmes immediately tells about Watson, that he deduces that Watson has been in Afghanistan. So based on subtle observation, it astonishing the doctor. So when uh, Sherlock Holmes tells Watson that he worked in Afghanistan, he came from Afghanistan, that astonishes uh, Watson. So how Sherlock Holmes came to a conclusion, arrives at a conclusion that Watson worked during or worked in Afghanistan. So the both finalized the arrangement to share lodgings at a suite in 221 B Baker Street, despite acknowledging each other's eccentricities. Holmes, a violin and experiments, Watson, bullpup. So here both discuss that uh, their eccentricities, because Sherlock Holmes was an unusual man, and he explains about his habits, that he plays a violin and he always do some experiments. And when Watson and Stanford meet him at a chemical laboratory, at that time Sherlock Holmes was beating a dead body to uh, know the uh, bruises on dead body after the death. So this is an eccentric or peculiar behavior of Sherlock Holmes. And both the characters, Sherlock Holmes and Watson, both characters are contrary. So, but they both agree to uh, settle and split the rent, share the rent room, expenditure of rent room in Baker Street, 221B Baker Street. So the agreement to share rooms, despite their differences, they both have different uh, habits, and it marks the true beginning of Sherlock Holmes canon. So now the Sherlock Holmes character was introduced in the chapter one, and uh, with the meeting of both Stanford and Watson at the chemical laboratory at a St. Bartholomew's Hospital. So this is a beginning of the Sherlock Holmes character in the novel. So let's see the contrast of characters. Both characters, Sherlock Holmes and Watson, both are contrary. So there is a contrast between these two characters. So here, Holmes is a detached but a brilliant mind. Watson, he was a practical man and human and grounding influence, and the birth of a genre. So this introductory text lays the groundwork for the modern detective fiction genre. So the Sherlock Holmes is a world famous character created by Arthur Conan Doyle, and he transformed detective genre with his uh, great character Sherlock Holmes.